Welcome back to My Crazy, My Rules, where no one's normal and we share our crazy. I'm Ben, your host. This is where we talk about real mental health, real stories, and the struggles we usually keep to ourselves. We'll laugh a little, cry a little, and remind each other we're not alone. So settle in. Let's share our crazy. I am so glad you have joined me for my first podcast. It's a thrill for me to start this endeavor, and I hope you enjoy listening to it as much as I'm enjoying doing it. And as I said in the pre-podcast, the first letter I'm going to read is my own. It should give you an idea of what you can write in. And also, the length of your letter doesn't matter. If it takes 15 minutes or an hour, I will read it on the podcast and I will share it. Here is a letter written by me. In April of this year, my younger sister called me. I live in Texas and she lives in Baltimore. Geographically, we are not close, but as brother and sister, we are very, very close. She's very busy with her family and her career, and I am very busy with my crazy. So her calling me was a bit unusual, and the time was getting late as well. She told me that Mom was going crazy and she did not know what to do. And those were pretty much her exact words. Now, Mom has had her fair share of issues. She survived breast cancer, kidney cancer, and many other ailments. She was very depressed most of the time now because she outlived my father, most of her brothers and sisters, and almost all of her good friends. For many, many years, she would ask why. Why was she still here? And I had no answer for her other than there was something she was still meant to do. So getting this call from my sister wasn't really that unusual, but her reaction was. She said Mom was yelling at her, saying she was finished with life and she just wanted to die. Her screaming and yelling was very unusual for her. Since it was getting very late, I told my sister, take her to one of the psychiatric hospital emergency admissions and get her put in there for 72 hours. Let's see if we can find out what's going on. She took her there, but it didn't work out quite as planned. Since she was a senior adult, they could not take her in without medical clearance. My sister called me again, and I talked to the nurse. Nope, can't do it. My mom was still yelling and acting very irrational. I told my sister, take her over to the hospital ER and have them evaluate her. My sister, thank goodness, was smart enough not to go to one of the local hospitals, but drove a bit further to St. Joe's in Baltimore. This is a wonderful hospital. There was quite a wait in the waiting room, but Mom wanted nothing to do with the waiting. She was yelling, she was screaming, she was yelling out she was going to kill herself. She was taking a wheelchair up and down the hallways, yelling at everyone, yelling at the nurses, yelling she's going to kill herself. Well, she got the attention she wanted, and it was mostly because she threatened security and said she was going to take them out and get out. Mom was medicated and put up on the psych ward, and there she did great. She had settled down, she was eating, talking with others, and really enjoying the group. This was much more like her normal self. Mom was very outgoing, she was very loving, and this is the type of atmosphere she would strive in, talking with others. When I called and checked on her, I was told she was doing very well, but they couldn't tell me any prognosis because she had not seen the psychiatrist yet. But always I was told by both the staff and my sister that she was doing well. On Tuesday morning, about 2:30 in the morning, my phone rang. It was the nurse from the hospital who was calling me. This was very unusual because I am the last one on the list to call. I live over 1,000 miles away. The nurse told me she'd been trying to call everybody else on the list. Nobody was answering the phone, and Mom had taken a sudden turn for the worse, and she didn't expect her to make it through the night. She had what is called a sudden flash edema, and she could not get hold of anyone else on the call list. Just to let you know, a flash edema is where your lungs suddenly fill up with fluid. I called my sister over and over, and I got no answer from her cell phone. I called my brother-in-law, and he answered his. I told him what was going on, and he gave the phone to my sister. I explained exactly what the nurse said to me, and she immediately got out of bed and drove to the hospital. I called my older sister as well because she lives close by and she went to the hospital. I then called all the rest of my siblings. They were all making plans to come to Baltimore. I was in Texas. I had sisters in Arizona, California, St. Louis, all over. And then the next day, Mom was better. No one could believe she recovered and that she was doing well. She was up, she was eating and doing okay. However, due to everything that had happened, they were going to run some tests and find out what was going on. They did x-rays, they did an MRI, and what they found was not good. Mom had a mass in her brain that was possibly bleeding. She was in heart failure, and her kidneys were shutting down. My younger sister went in and discussed this with my mom, and Mom decided she didn't want to do any more tests. She was tired and sick of it all. After some more discussion, Mom was moved over to hospice. And now I was going to fly from Texas to Maryland. Now, if you listen to the pre-podcast, you understand I don't fly. So I loaded up with benzos, which are the heavy anti-anxiety meds, starting 24 hours before I was set to fly. My wife drove me to the airport and took me inside. More benzos. I was taken by wheelchair to the plane because I was pretty stoned and there was no way I could go by myself. We boarded the plane and, of course, more benzos. I will say the flight attendants took very, very good care of me. They sat me up front and they watched me very closely. I'm not going to go through all the boring stuff between arriving at the airport and the first time I went to see my mom in the hospital. I don't remember a whole lot of it. I have no memory of the flight. Thank goodness for the benzos. By the time I arrived and went to see my mom in the hospital, she had already been moved into a regular room and they had started her hospice. This meant they took her off all her meds besides those needed for comfort. She looked good and was talking, smiling, and interacting. Like I said earlier, 2 of my sisters had been with her already, with the others coming in. Mom was very happy to see me. We hugged, we kissed, and joked. Of course, my mother and I had a very special relationship, and it was built on love and humor. I could always make my mom laugh, and it was very special when she did. So we talked and schmoozed. We eventually came back to what was going on and how she felt about it. She understood that she was going to hospice care, and she said she was ready. I really don't think she was. I don't think she really understood what it was that was going on. I don't think any of us ever understand what it means to die, and I don't think we're ever really ready. We did, however, talk about it in depth, and the day gradually turned into night, and it was just my younger sister, my mom, and myself. And this would be kind of the way it was for the next 6 weeks or so. Most days and every night, my younger sister and I were there with Mom. And that night, I made Mom a promise. I told her I would not leave her alone, and I would be by her side for as long as she needed. And I was there till the very end. And since we didn't know how long she really had, I told her something else. It was the hardest thing I've ever said to anyone, and my younger sister and I ended up saying it to her every night until she passed. I told her, Mom, we're all okay. You raised great, loving, and self-sufficient children, and we're able to take care of ourselves. You did an amazing job. And then I said the hardest part of it. If you see your mom and dad, if you see your husband, if you see your brothers and sisters, and they come and tell you it's time to go, it's okay. You can go. You can rest easy knowing that you raised us right. We will miss you and we will love you forever, but it's okay. The next few days passed very quickly, with my younger sister and I spending as much time with my mom as possible. More of the family arrived, and then the committee was formed. It was not actually a committee, but that's what I called it. I'm going to preface this by saying my entire family loved my mom very much. There was no doubt that everyone's opinions and beliefs were out of love for my mom. She raised very loving and caring children. No one said anything or did anything that was meant to be just hurtful. But none of us had been through this before. And now my wife and my youngest daughter had arrived as well. My wife was the only one with a working knowledge about hospice because she's a hospice nurse. And she and I were the only ones with a medical background. And she and I were the only ones that were absolutely not listened to. It seemed everything we said was incorrect and not in Mom's best interest. The committee would override us each time. The biggest decision to date was who was going to take care of Mom when she went home for hospice. She did have a caregiver before she went in the hospital, but we were unsure if she would be able to take care of Mom efficiently. While most of us wanted to go a different way, the committee insisted that she needed to stay with the same caregiver. And of course, the committee won. So, that Saturday, Mom was transferred by ambulance back to her apartment. We had arranged for the necessary equipment to be there before we arrived. The hospice company we used was Gilchrist, and they arranged everything. When we arrived at the apartment, her caregiver was already there. The first thing I noticed when we got in the apartment was how dark everything seemed. It was like there was a physical change in the apartment to match Mom's health. We got her settled into the bed and stayed with her. And this was the first time I knew there was going to be a problem with the care she was going to get at home. When Mom needed to use the bathroom, her caregiver, who was not a nurse, took her to the bathroom and left her on the toilet alone. Mom didn't have the strength to keep herself up. We went in to get her and had to take her back to her bed. I had to hold her in the chair while the bed was being prepared because she didn't have the strength to hold herself up. This was also the first time I went head-to-head with the committee. We were discussing Mom's meds, and the committee felt that it was really too early in hospice to think about pain meds and anti-anxiety meds. Why? No idea. I told the caregiver to just agree with anything they were told and keep the peace. Then, when the committee left, I told the caregiver that my younger sister was the only one with the authority to make decisions on my mom's care. I then told her that we both agreed, my younger sister and myself, to give Mom whatever meds were necessary that Mom asked for. Of course, the caregiver was very relieved to hear this. Through the next week or so, Mom's room was very busy. Not only were almost all her children coming to see her, but her one surviving brother flew in from South America. Mom was ecstatic. He brought his wife and two of his daughters with him, and they were absolutely a dream to be around. All three of them could light up a room just by walking in. And her brother was amazing. At 97 years of age, he was still as bright as he was 30 years ago when I saw him last. But also during this time, Mom was declining. Her appetite was fading, and she was less interested in things going on around her. Also, her caregivers were not doing a very good job. That Thursday night, I had to sit down with my younger sister. I told her we needed to consider getting Mom better nurses and better help because her care was fading as quickly as she was. She agreed, but we had no idea who to talk to. But it wasn't needed. Early the next morning, my brother-in-law received the most welcome phone call than any of us could have wished for. We were told it would be months before a room would be able to open up at Gilchrist, and that's why Mom was taken home. While my sister was at work and I was visiting Mom at her apartment, Gilchrist called my brother-in-law. They told him that a bed had opened up at their Baltimore facility and Mom could be transferred there. There was only one catch. They had to know within the next few hours or it would go to someone else. He had no clue what to do. Mom had stated she wanted to spend her final days at home, and also no one had ever seen the facility. My brother-in-law had an amazing idea. He went to the facility, met with the director, and she dropped what she was doing and gave him a tour. This was the first clue that this was a wonderful and caring place. He videoed the entire tour and sent it to everyone. And I do have to shout out to him because through this all, he was a rock. He made sure that no one needed to worry about anything but Mom. He was the most amazing blessing. Everyone loved the video he sent out, and the facility was great. Even the committee was pleased and said it would be better for her to be there. The only thing was that someone had to discuss it with Mom, and I was the one with her at the time, and they needed an answer right away. I asked the caregivers to give us some privacy, and I sat down with Mom. Mom was pretty much bedridden at this time and was spending a lot of time sleeping. I told her, Mom, I need to talk to you. She opened her eyes and looked at me. I explained to her what was going on. I told her about Gilchrist and the room. She closed her eyes, and then a few minutes later she opened them again and asked me, what would you do? I told her I could not make that decision for her, but I saw the video. The place was nice, it was friendly, and it would take much better care of her than she was getting now. It took some time, but after talking for quite a while, Mom asked me the saddest question I've ever been asked by her. Ben, is this where I'll be going for my end-of-life care? It was everything I could do not to break down and run out of there right then and there. I held her hand, I looked into her eyes, and I said, yes, Mom, this will be the place you go for your end-of-life care. She closed her eyes and just said, okay. I let everyone know, and then the rest of the day I spent just holding her hand. Mom was very quickly transferred from her home to Gilchrist Hospice. It was sad and surreal, knowing this would be the last time she was ever in her apartment. We arrived at Gilchrist that afternoon, and we immediately knew we had made the right decision. The place was light, airy, and very welcoming. Not at all what any of us expected since it was hospice. I have mentioned the name of the hospice many times, and there's a reason for that. I'm mentioning them in this letter because I wanted to say how absolutely wonderful they were to all of us. They took amazing care of Mom, just like she was their own family. I can't tell you how amazing and how much I give them my very deepest heartfelt thanks. If I could think of and remember each of their names, I would tell them thank you to each and every one of them right now. I've never met such caring and understanding people in my entire life. And this was from the moment you walked in the front doors and were greeted by security, who always asked, how are you doing? How are you feeling? How's your mom doing? Even the housekeeping staff had a smile for you. The nurses and the administration were unbelievable. Thank you to each and every one of you for the wonderful care you gave to my mom and to us. Your smiles, your sense of humor, your amazing caring attitude made it so much easier for my family. After Mom was transferred, the committee went home, and my older sister, my younger sister, and myself were the ones left. Many mornings, my older sister would sit with her. I would come in the afternoons and stay. My younger sister would come in after work, and she and I would be there every night. While Mom was coherent, we would talk with her, laugh with her, and keep her comfortable. Again, the nurses played a very large part in this and helped tremendously. Every time we left, we would tell her the same thing about if her family showed up and she felt it was time to go, she could go. One evening, Mom asked me what I thought would happen when she passed. I told her what I thought about being with her relatives and her friends again. I told her how happy Dad would be to see her again. When I mentioned my father, she asked me a question I think had been on her mind for quite some time. Ben, what about your mom? She was asking me if she would be with my dad if my birth mom was there. I can understand now exactly what she was asking. So here's what I told her. Mom, the first thing my mom is going to do is run up to you and give you a great big hug. She is going to thank you over and over again for being the mother her children needed and the wife her husband needed. She is going to tell you that she was able to rest easy knowing that her children and her husband were being so well cared for. She's going to tell you she could not have loved us any more herself. Then I told my mom, Mom, you have been my mother for over 50 years, and I could never have wished for or prayed for anyone as dear to me as you. I love you with all my heart, and I will never forget you as long as I live. From that day and for the next few weeks, there was very little time I was away from her. I would get there as early as I could and stay until my younger sister got there and leave her between 1 or 2 in the morning. I would get some rest, but my sister had to get up every day and still go to work. I have no idea how she did it. She was amazing. She was the one that had always taken care of my mom through the years. All the rest of us had moved far away, and that left only her and her husband to watch over Mom and take care of her. I know that this was not an easy thing to do, and I always thank them for doing it. For some reason, my younger sister and I have always had a bond. No matter how far away we were from each other, we were always there for each other. And being with Mom, just her and I late at night, was extremely intimate. There's no other way to describe it. We would share our memories, laugh, cry. She would climb into bed with Mom and just lay there with her, even as Mom declined and could not respond to us. We shared so much with each other without ever having to say a word. We would sit on either side of Mom's bed and just sing to her. We would tell Mom how much we loved her and how much we would miss her. But we always told her we would be okay and she could have peace in knowing that. And again, we would tell her each night that if she had to go, if family came, we would be okay. She could go without worry. We said that faithfully every night, almost. The last 2 nights that Mom was with us, neither my sister or I could say it. We both knew the time was coming soon, and we could not bring ourselves to say it because neither of us wanted her to go. The last night Mom was with us, I knew it was going to be the last night. I told my sister, you should stay and be with her, because I know my sister wouldn't want her to leave, and I also know that had she left and Mom passed, she would not be happy with herself forever. So she stayed. She cared for her that night. She sang to her, and she curled up in bed next to her. The next morning, Mom left us. She was gone, and nothing would ever be the same. She passed away the same exact date my father did 27 years before, May 7th. There was so much to do the next few days that there was no time for thinking. The funeral took place, and Mom was laid to her eternal rest. That is when everyone seemed to grieve. Everyone talked and let out their emotions and came to grips with the loss. That is everyone but my sister and myself. With everything we had been through in the last 6 weeks or so, we just could not fathom that she was gone. And the loss I was feeling was so deep, and it hurt more than I can ever put into words. And that was almost 3 months ago, and I still have not faced it. Until writing this letter, I have not really been able to share it with anyone. I've kept it inside. It's kept me awake at nights, and it's the first thing I thought about when I woke up in the morning. I could not deal with it. With my mother still in my heart and my thoughts, I started this podcast. I had things to share that I could not share with anyone, And I felt ashamed of being 63 years old, and I felt like a child. And now, as I promised, I shared a story about myself. And yeah, I have many, many more, but I want to hear your story. I want to hear the story that you have not been able to share with anyone. The story that keeps you awake at night and you think about as soon as you wake up in the morning. I'm not going to let anybody know who it's from. I'm not going to tell them where it came from. But you get to put it out there and you get to free yourself from it. You get to feel the feelings that you weren't able to share with anyone. You get to hear it and realize it, but it's not you. It no longer will have control over you. And then I ask others to write in and give you encouragement. Let them know you're okay. Let them know they have stories just like yours and you're not alone. Thanks for listening to My Crazy, My Rules. No one's normal, and here, that's something we celebrate. If you've got a story to share, a comment to make, or something you just need to say, email me at mycrazymyrules@gmail.com. There's no punctuation. It's just mycrazymyrules@gmail.com. You can be anonymous or not. It's your choice. As I will say at the end of every podcast, if you feel that you need help, if you feel you can't go on, seek help. Please don't wait. You can contact the National Suicide Hotline by calling 988, or you can text them at 741-741, ask for help. You can also chat with them at 988lifeline.org. If you like today's episode, please make sure to subscribe and share the show with your friends, family, or anyone who needs to know they're not alone. Until next time, it's My Crazy, My Rules. What's yours?